At the end of last week, Helldivers released a brand new warbond called Democratic Detonation. I unlocked all of the weapons in the warbond, spent some time using each and every one of them, and I wanted to go over them really quick in today's video. So starting off with the BR-14 Adjudicator. So this is the first weapon you get to unlock in the premium warbond. It costs 20 medals. It is a DMR. It does medium armor damage, which is great, but unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of enemies in Helldivers that have that level of armor. So you have the Devastators and the Scout Striders for the automatons, and the Hive Guards and Bile Spewers for the Terminids. So with this weapon, you'll be able to shoot these targets even if it's not in their weak spots or the exposed spots for the Terminids. Unfortunately, this weapon remains a DMRs. Granted, they are very good to get headshots on, for example, automatons, especially the Devastators. You can kill them pretty quick, but there's a lot of weapon sway, and when you're trying to get headshots with DMRs, having that weapon sway isn't ideal. So I used it, but I didn't really enjoy my time using it that much. It doesn't do a terrible amount of damage. It does 80 damage per shot, so you're not really one-shotting the small mobs either. But if you're playing in the higher levels, granted, you can pick and choose your fights. You can run out of ammo pretty quickly, and I just feel like DMRs as a whole weapon category could use a little bit of love, most notably for the weapon sway. That is the biggest problem I have with this class of weapons. They are good, but it's just hard to hit headshots at a distance because of that weapon sway. And also the handling's pretty poor. It is a DMR after all, so turning your character, the weapon crosshair follows, and it does take a little bit to come back to the middle of your screen. So when you're in a very intense fight, it's far from ideal. It can be useful if you're playing like a pre-made or something like that, a group of 4, and one person has this rifle and is picking off Devastators from a distance, talking about specifically the automaton fight right now. But overall, it's kind of a meh weapon in my opinion. Moving on to the R36 Eruptor. So that is on page 2, and it requires 60 medals to unlock. That's not counting all the other medals you have to spend to unlock the page. So this weapon is pretty great and fun to use. You just have to be careful not to use it in close range because you'll be missing a few limbs if you do. This fires explosive rounds. Obviously has poor weapon handling and slow fire rate. It is a bolt action rifle after all. It does pretty crazy damage to the target you hit, and the explosive round damages enemies in the vicinity, which can be great for groups of enemies, and you can deal with more armored targets pretty easily as well. Also with the Striders, you can blow off their legs and stuff like that. So overall, pretty fun weapon to use. It is a bolt action rifle, so you're going to probably want to stay back a little bit from the actual fights and try to get distance. If the enemies do close distance, make sure you have a solid sidearm. I would recommend the fully automatic pistol, which is very great paired with this weapon. But if you're taking something like a single shot revolver, maybe not the best idea. What's really great about this weapon is it can also be used to destroy Terminid bug holes and automaton factories, which is a big plus. That way you don't have to run up real close and throw a grenade on it. So you can deal with automaton factories and bug hole or bug hives from a distance, and with the automatons fighting back with gunships, so that's just recent, if you can hit the thrusters, you can take those down too, which is a huge win, especially in higher difficulties. You see a lot more gunships, so having this weapon, having someone on your team have this weapon, reduces the need for having something like a quasar cannon, a recoilless, or something of the sorts to take down those gunships. Overall, a good addition to the game, and I think it is pretty well balanced as it is. Moving on to the CB9 Explosive Crossbow, which costs an eye-watering 80 medals, and is on the 3rd page, so you got a lot of medals to use before being able to unlock this weapon. I wanted to like this weapon. It looked so fun. Crossbow, yes, that's awesome, but it's just too situational. The one use I really like is shooting at a bug breach hole, so you can get a lot of kills that way. As soon as they're a bug breach, just start firing your explosive shots on the bug breach, and you're going to be able to take care of most of the enemies coming out of there, which is great. Unfortunately, the damage feels a little bit underwhelming considering it is an explosive crossbow. There's a lot of stuff that you can't really one-shot that you would expect to be able to one-shot with this thing, so it's kind of meh, especially against automatons. You have very limited ammo, so again, if you're using this, make sure you have a pretty reliable sidearm. Considering its explosive capabilities, you would think it can destroy Terminid bug holes in automaton factories, but no, it can't, unlike the R36 Eruptor, which I think is just a better overall weapon than the crossbow. why wouldn't it be able to destroy terminate bug holes and automaton factories is beyond me. I've tried many times and it just doesn't work at all. This weapon could definitely use some love because as of now, I feel like it's more of a novelty of having a crossbow and fighting all these bugs and automatons with it than anything else. And last but certainly not least, the GP-31 grenade pistol, which costs 60 medals and can be unlocked on the 3rd page. So this is obviously a secondary weapon, as everyone probably already knows. It does exactly what it says it does. It shoots grenades. You don't get many rounds in quotation marks, but considering they are grenades, it can vastly increase the amount of grenades you have from 4 to 6, depending on what armor you're using, to 13. 13Y is if you use the Hellpod Space Optimization Booster. For some reason, you get to shoot 2 consecutive grenades from the pistol when you spawn. So if you spawn and your ammo in the pistol is full, you don't get 8 grenades, you get 8 plus 1 in the chamber. I think this is a bug, but anyways, you get a total of 9. If not, you get half, which is 4. It does decent damage to groups of enemies, which is great. Again, more grenades. Can destroy automaton factories and terminate bug holes, which makes it incredibly useful. I personally like to pair it with an infinite ammo weapon, such as the sickle, pretty much negating the need for an actual sidearm, which allows me to have this weapon instead that can destroy factories, destroy bug holes, and if I have enemies running after me in a large group, pull that out, shoot it, they blow up. Pretty straightforward. The real only downside to this weapon is when you need to transport something like an SSD to an objective, you have to have your sidearm out, but then again, you can easily drop the SSD by just hitting your primary weapon button or hitting your 3rd weapon button, drop it, shoot the targets, pick it back up. So it's kind of a small caveat, but it is there nonetheless. I've been using the GP-31 grenade pistol for like the whole weekend I was playing. Because it's just so fun to use, and you can just use your grenades at will, and then when you run out, you can just use this, and then you can still end up destroying all of the terminate bug holes and the automaton factories. So that pretty much covers my thoughts on the 4 weapons that were added in the Democratic Detonation warbond. Let me know what you think about them in the comment section down below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.